All right, strap in, everybody. Today we are going deep on a classic, The Art of War.
Oh, yeah. Love this one.
We got a whole breakdown of key ideas from Sun Tzu's text ready to go.
Awesome.
I'm so ready to find out how these ancient strategies can actually play out in our modern world.
Well, what's really interesting is that the art of war, it it goes way beyond just battlefield tactics.
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's really more of a guide
Yeah?
to achieving victory in any part of your life.
Totally.
You know, from business negotiations to personal relationships.
I love that.
All of it.
Yeah. I'm especially curious about how his ideas on planning,
Yeah.
how those translate into our daily lives.
Mm.
So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
To chapter 1, laying plans.
Okay.
I've always been fascinated by this idea that victory is often decided before we even take any action.
You know, it really speaks to the importance of strategy and preparation.
Totally.
Sun Tzu famously said, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be in danger. But it goes beyond just knowing your opponent.
Oh, okay.
It's about understanding the entire landscape
The whole picture, yeah.
of the situation, exactly.
So how can we know our enemy in, everyday life?
Mm.
It's, it's not always a literal enemy, right? What if it's a difficult colleague or trying to get that big promotion?
Well, think of it like gathering intel
Okay.
and then anticipating their moves.
Okay.
So let's say you are competing for a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your enemy would involve really understanding their strengths and weaknesses.
Got it.
And even their motivations.
Okay.
What are their goals?
Right.
What kind of impression are they trying to make?
Yeah.
And this intel can really help you position yourself more effectively
Yeah.
and highlight your own strengths in a way that really resonates with decision makers.
That's such a good point. And it's not about being manipulative, right?
Yeah.
It's about, being informed and strategic
Exactly.
in your approach.
It's about using knowledge to your advantage.
Yeah, love that. Okay,
Right.
so planning is key, all right?
Yeah.
But then Sun Tzu goes straight into waging war,
Yeah.
chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Seems a bit intense for our everyday lives, but I'm guessing he's not talking about actual warfare here.
Right. Sun Tzu's actually warning us about the high cost of conflict,
Okay.
both literal and, metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
He really emphasizes that prolonged battles, even disagreements or drawn-out negotiations, those just drain resources and energy,
Totally.
often leaving both sides weaker.
Yeah, that makes me think of those arguments that just go round and round and round.
Exactly.
Why no real resolution?
Sometimes the wisest move is knowing when to disengage.
Oh, I like that.
You know, when to choose your battles strategically.
Mm-hmm.
Winning can sometimes mean avoiding a conflict that will only deplete you.
Yeah. Step away.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where I think things get super interesting.
Okay.
Chapter 3. Attack by stratagem. This idea of outsmarting your opponent
Mm-hmm.
and achieving your goals without direct confrontation.
I love it.
This definitely appeals to me.
Me too.
So, it's about using intellect and cunning to gain the upper hand.
Exactly. Remember, Sun Tzu said, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting.
Okay, I get the concept, but can you give me a real-world example of this in action?
Sure.
What does subduing without fighting look like today?
Think about the rivalry between Coke and Pepsi.
Ooh, okay.
They rarely engage in direct negative attacks on each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Instead, they focus on building strong brand identities
Okay.
and associations,
Mm-hmm.
subtly positioning themselves as the preferred choice
Okay.
in the minds of consumers.
So it's less about attacking the competition and more about strategically positioning yourself as
Yeah.
the better option, the
Exactly.
more desirable option.
A more subtle form of attack, but often very effective.
So interesting. It makes me think about how we can apply this to our own lives,
Yeah.
not just in marketing.
Absolutely. This principle can be applied in personal relationships,
Mhm.
negotiations, even in managing our own internal struggles
Oh, wow.
with things like procrastination
Yeah.
or self-doubt.
Oh, interesting.
All of it.
Okay, so moving on to chapter 4, tactical dispositions.
Okay.
What does Sun Tzu mean by this idea of positioning yourself advantageously?
It's about understanding that where you are,
Okay.
both literally and figuratively,
Yeah.
can impact your chances of success.
Okay.
So Sun Tzu uses this analogy of a military choosing a strategic location for battle.
Okay, so it's not just about showing up.
Right.
It's about showing up in the right place.
Yes,
At the right time.
precisely. Think about how you structure your day.
Okay.
Do you tackle your most demanding tasks
Mm-hmm.
when you have the most energy?
Oh, that's good.
Do you create a workspace that minimizes distractions and allows you to focus?
Right.
This is about controlling your environment
Okay.
to set yourself up for success.
This is starting to feel less like ancient warfare
I know, right?
and more like a productivity guide.
It's about applying those strategic principles to any area of life.
Yeah, I love that.
And, what's interesting is Sun Tzu emphasizes that this strategic positioning,
Yeah.
it's not static.
Okay.
It's about adapting to the ever-changing landscape
Oh,
of a situation.
so you gotta stay
And
flexible.
you got to be flexible.
Which brings us to chapter 5, energy.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu uses this incredible image of force being like water flowing to the path of least resistance.
He's highlighting the power of momentum
Okay.
and recognizing when you have an advantage.
Right.
It's about understanding that sometimes small, consistent efforts can yield big results over time.
Oh, I love this analogy.
It's great.
It makes me think about, building good habits, like exercising regularly
Yes.
or consistently saving money. The initial effort might seem small, but the cumulative effect over time can be huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about harnessing the power of consistent action,
Love it.
like a river carving its path through stone.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, on to chapter 6, weak points and strong. This one sounds a bit more cutthroat,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing there's more to it than just exploiting weaknesses.
It's more about being strategic
Okay.
in your approach to challenges.
Mhm.
So Sun Tzu advises against head-on confrontations
Okay.
where you're at a disadvantage.
Right.
Instead, he encourages us to identify our own weaknesses and those of our opponents,
Okay.
and to focus on areas
Yeah.
where we have a clear advantage.
So instead of trying to win every battle,
Right.
it's about being smart and choosing where
Yeah.
to focus our energy.
Precisely. Let's say you're launching a new business.
Okay.
Instead of trying to compete head-to-head
Yeah.
with established giants, you might focus on finding a niche market where you can excel
Right.
and differentiate yourself.
Got it.
Yeah.
Or even in a personal disagreement, right?
Mhm.
It might be about, choosing which points to argue
Yeah.
and which ones to let go of,
Right.
focusing on the areas where you have the strongest ground to stand on.
That's a great application of the principle.
Yeah.
It's about being strategic, not just in our actions,
Yeah.
but in our thinking as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
This is really making me rethink how I approach challenges in general.
I know, me too.
So far, we've covered the first 6 chapters of The Art of War, which seem to lay out these core principles of strategic thinking.
Totally.
Where do we go from here?
Well, chapter 7 through 12 delve into more specific tactical strategies, but even those have surprising relevance to our everyday lives.
I am ready to keep exploring.
Let's do it.
This deep dive is already way more insightful than I expected.
I told you.
You did. All right, well, more Art of War wisdom coming up after the break.
What's intriguing about these later chapters is how Sun Tzu emphasizes adaptability
Okay.
and using the terrain to your advantage.
Okay, I can see that'd be crucial on an actual battlefield.
Right.
But how does that translate to, navigating a career change?
Mm-hmm.
Or even just making a major purchase?
Well, think of it like this.
Mm-hmm.
The job market. It's constantly shifting.
For sure.
New technologies emerge.
Yeah.
Industries evolve.
Right.
So being rigid in your career path,
Yeah.
it might limit your options.
Totally.
Yeah.
So instead of clinging to, a specific job title,
Right.
it's about being open to new opportunities
Yes.
and developing a skill set that can translate across different fields.
Exactly.
So you have to be like a jack of all trades.
It's about being like water, as Sun Tzu describes,
Okay.
adapting to the shape of the container.
Oh, I like that.
And when making a big purchase like a house or a car,
Mm-hmm.
knowing the terrain would involve,
Yeah.
researching the market, understanding pricing trends,
Right.
even considering factors like resale value or
Yeah.
future maintenance costs.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the immediate decision,
Right.
but about anticipating those long-term implications.
Yes.
And positioning yourself strategically.
Right. It's that foresight,
Mm-hmm.
that ability to see the bigger picture that Sun Tzu keeps emphasizing.
I'm really curious about this idea of intelligence gathering
Okay.
that Sun Tzu talks about. It
Yeah.
sounds very cloak and dagger,
Right.
But I'm guessing it has broader applications in our everyday lives.
Absolutely. Think about, social situations.
Okay.
Being observant, picking up on cues,
Right.
understanding the dynamics between people.
Okay.
That's a form of intelligence gathering.
So it's not just about, like, eavesdropping. It's about being aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
And understanding the unspoken language of social interactions.
Precisely. And this applies to professional settings, too. Paying attention to office dynamics, understanding the motivations of your colleagues, even being aware of industry trends. That's all valuable intel.
Yeah.
That can really inform your decisions and actions.
Okay, we are nearing the final chapter of The Art of War.
Right.
And I have to admit, this idea of deception and controlling perception.
Okay.
This has been on my mind since we started talking about it.
It's one of the most intriguing and often misunderstood aspects of Sun Tzu's work.
For sure.
But it's really important to emphasize that he's not advocating for dishonesty or manipulation.
So it's not about, like, being a master manipulator or tricking people into getting what you want?
It's about understanding the power of perception and how it shapes reality.
Right.
It's about presenting yourself and your ideas in a way that influences outcomes ethically.
Can you give me a concrete example of what this might look like?
Sure.
A real-world scenario.
Imagine you're pitching a new business idea to investors.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily highlight every potential risk or challenge right off the bat.
You got to get them hooked.
You would focus on the strengths of your idea, the potential for growth, the unique value proposition you offer.
So it's about framing the information strategically to create a positive impression and inspire confidence in your vision.
It's about understanding that perception is a powerful force and using that knowledge to your advantage.
This is making me rethink how I approach everything.
Yeah, me.
From, like, presentations at work to even just, casual conversations.
That's the beauty of the art of war.
Totally.
It encourages us to think strategically about every aspect of our lives.
As we delve deeper into the art of war, it's becoming clear that these ancient principles, they have surprisingly modern applications. It's not just about warfare. It's about understanding strategy, psychology, the art of influence in all areas of life.
It's interesting how the art of war emphasizes that the best victories are often the ones achieved without a fight.
Right, like outmaneuvering the enemy instead of going head to head in a brutal showdown.
Exactly. Sun Tzu talks about this idea of subduing the enemy without fighting.
Oh, okay.
It's about using your intellect and strategy to achieve your goals with minimal conflict.
So it's less about brute force and more about using your brain.
Absolutely. And, this concept has so many applications.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
How does winning without fighting actually play out in the real world?
Well, think about conflict resolution in personal relationships.
Okay.
Instead of, engaging in heated arguments.
Yeah.
Imagine using empathy and active listening to understand your partner's perspective.
Okay.
And find a compromise that works for both of you.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from winning the argument to finding a solution that strengthens the relationship.
Precisely. And it's not about suppressing your own needs, but rather about finding a way to meet both your needs and your partner's needs in a harmonious way.
So the art of war isn't just about winning at all costs. It's about choosing your battles wisely and finding ways to achieve your goals while minimizing unnecessary conflict.
Exactly. It's about being smart, strategic, and understanding that sometimes the best way to win is to avoid a fight altogether.
Okay, but how do we know when to fight and when to walk away?
Right.
That seems like a tricky balance to strike.
That's where Sun Tzu's emphasis on knowing yourself and knowing your enemy comes in.
Okay.
You need to assess the situation, understand the stakes, weigh the potential costs and benefits of engaging in conflict.
It's about being thoughtful and deliberate.
Yes.
Not just reacting impulsively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about remembering that sometimes the most strategic move is to step back, reassess, and find a more creative solution that doesn't involve a head-on confrontation.
That's actually a really empowering idea.
I agree.
It means we have more control over situations than we might think.
And, this ties into another key concept from the art of war.
What's that?
Deception.
Ooh, deception.
I know, right?
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
This sounds a bit more like a spy thriller
It does.
than a self-help book.
Hold on.
Okay.
Sun Tzu isn't talking about being dishonest or manipulative.
Okay.
It's more about using strategy and perception to your advantage.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Give me an example
All right.
of how this deception works in a real-world scenario.
Think about a salary negotiation.
Okay.
You wouldn't necessarily reveal your absolute bottom line right away.
Right.
You might start by asking for slightly more than you're willing to accept, creating a buffer for negotiation.
So it's about being strategic and leaving yourself some room to maneuver.
Exactly. It's not about lying about your worth,
Okay.
but about understanding the dynamics of negotiation.
Right.
And using them to your advantage.
Okay. That makes sense in the context of negotiation. But how does this translate to, say, building relationships?
Okay.
Or even just navigating social situations?
Well, it's not about putting on a false persona,
Okay.
but rather about being mindful of how you present yourself and the signals you're sending.
Right.
For example, in a new social setting,
Okay.
you might initially observe the group dynamics before jumping into conversations, allowing yourself time to understand the social landscape.
So it's about being observant and strategic, not just blindly jumping into situations without understanding the dynamics at play.
Precisely. And this principle can even apply to personal branding.
Oh.
And how you present yourself to the world.
Tell me more about how deception, in the Sun Tzu sense, plays a role in personal branding.
Think about how people present themselves on LinkedIn, for example.
Okay.
They highlight their skills, experience, and accomplishments.
Right.
Crafting a professional image that aligns with their career goals.
Yeah, everyone's trying to, showcase their best selves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while it's important to be authentic, it's also strategic to understand how you're perceived by others.
Right.
And to shape that perception in a way that supports your goals.
So it's not about pretending to be someone you're not, but about being mindful of how you present yourself.
Exactly.
And the image you project.
It's about understanding that perception is a powerful force.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge ethically to achieve your goals.
This is really making me rethink.
Me too.
How I approach everything from social interactions to career decisions. It's like a whole new layer of strategy I hadn't considered before.
And that's what makes the art of war so fascinating.
I know, right?
It challenges us to think differently about how we navigate the world and achieve our goals.
Okay, so we've talked about winning without fighting and deception, which are both intriguing and, let's be honest, bit controversial concepts.
For sure.
What other key takeaways from the art of war can help us navigate the complexities of modern life?
Well, one of the most fascinating things about Sun Tzu's work is how he emphasizes the importance of adaptability.
Adaptability. Ugh, that's something I definitely struggle with. I tend to make a plan and I want to stick to it.
Yeah.
Even when things change.
It's a common struggle.
Yeah.
But Sun Tzu reminds us that rigidity, it can be a major obstacle to success.
Right.
He uses that powerful metaphor of being like water, throwing around obstacles, finding the path of least resistance.
That makes a lot of sense. Especially in today's world, things are changing so quickly. We have to be able to pivot and adjust our course.
Exactly. So how do we cultivate this adaptability?
Right. Yeah. Good question.
How do we become more like water?
Yeah.
It starts with mindset.
Okay.
Instead of fearing change, embrace it as an opportunity for growth.
Okay.
Those unexpected detours, they might lead to something even better in your original plan.
I like that.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing obstacles as setbacks, view them as a chance to learn and get creative with solutions.
And be willing to step outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
The more you expose yourself to new experiences, the more flexible and adaptable you become.
Yeah.
Think of it like cross-training for your mind.
I love it.
Yeah.
So adaptability is key. And you mentioned using the terrain to your advantage.
Yes.
That sounds like a very literal military tactic.
It does.
How does that apply to our everyday lives?
Sun Tzu is talking about understanding the landscape of a situation, the nuances, the power dynamics, even the unspoken rules.
Can you give me a specific example of how we can know the terrain?
Sure. Let's say you're starting a new job.
Okay.
Knowing the terrain would involve observing the company culture,
Okay.
understanding the communication styles
Yeah.
of your colleagues,
Right.
even figuring out the unwritten rules
Okay.
of office etiquette.
So it's about
Yeah.
reading between the lines,
Yes.
being observant,
Yeah.
picking up on those subtle cues that tell you how things really work.
Precisely. It's that awareness that allows you to navigate the situation more effectively,
Okay.
avoid potential pitfalls,
Right.
and even position yourself for success.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from the importance of planning and strategic thinking
Yeah.
to the power of adaptability
Mm-hmm.
and understanding perception.
It's remarkable how relevant the art of war remains,
I know, right?
even centuries after it was written.
It's a reminder that the principles of strategy
Mm-hmm.
and understanding human nature are timeless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether we're facing a challenging negotiation, a career transition,
Yeah.
even a personal conflict,
Mhm.
the wisdom of Sun Tzu can provide valuable guidance.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Think about your own goals
Okay.
and the obstacles you face
Mm-hmm.
in achieving them.
Yeah.
How can you apply the principles of the art of war to overcome those obstacles
Okay.
and achieve victory in your own life?
That's a powerful question to ponder.
It is.
And remember, as Sun Tzu said,
Yeah.
every battle is won before it's ever fought.
Love that one.
So go out there and conquer your day strategically and wisely, of course.
Absolutely.